While you've been watching the price of Bitcoin, the US government has been quietly building its war chest of legal weapons. The first major shot was fired in July 2025 when the Genius Act was signed into law. And trust me, this isn't just another boring rule book. It's the first piece of a much larger puzzle, a blueprint for total government oversight of digital assets. In this video, we're going to expose the biggest threats this new law creates for your crypto and pull back the curtain on the next phase of the government's secret war on your financial freedom. The era of crypto as the Wild West is officially over. For years, we begged for regulatory clarity, right? A clear set of rules to separate the good guys from the bad and let innovation boom. The lack of rules created this chaotic mess where scams ran wild and giants like FTX could just collapse overnight, taking billions of your dollars with them. This uncertainty was a huge problem, pushing businesses and brilliant developers to friendlier places like Europe and Asia. We asked for clarity, we pleaded for it. But now that the government's answer is here, we have to ask a terrifying question. Is the cure actually worse than the disease? This new framework isn't a simple set of guidelines. It's a complex, two-pronged attack designed to fundamentally change what cryptocurrency is in the United States. It's a strategy built not just to protect you, but to project power, to establish control, and to bring the decentralized world of crypto firmly under the heel of the centralized state. This isn't just regulation. This is a quiet war for the future of money, and Washington just won the first battle. To understand how we got here, we have to rewind the clock. Just think back to the absolute dumpster fire of 2022 and 2023. The headlines were a nightmare. We saw the death spiral of Terra Luna, an algorithmic stablecoin that literally evaporated $40 billion in a few days. We watched crypto lenders like Celsius and Voyager slam the doors, freeze withdrawals, and declare bankruptcy, locking up the life savings of millions of normal people who were just trying to earn a little interest. And then came the big one, FTX. The collapse of Sam Bankman-Fried's empire was more than a market crash. It was a story of unbelievable fraud and deception playing out for the whole world to see. A so-called blue chip exchange, loved by celebrities and politicians, turned out to be a complete house of cards, a personal piggy bank for its executives. The fallout wasn't just financial, it destroyed the industry's reputation. For years, regulators like former SEC Chair Gary Gensler had been screaming about the risks, calling crypto the Wild West and demanding more power. The implosion of these centralized platforms was the political ammo they were dreaming of. It was the perfect excuse. Suddenly, how could anyone argue against consumer protection when billions had just been lost or stolen? The story was set. Crypto is dangerous, it's run by crooks, and the government has to step in and be the hero. Of course, this story conveniently ignored a pretty important fact. The underlying technology, Bitcoin's decentralized network, kept on ticking without a single hiccup. It ignored that most DeFi protocols performed exactly as they were coded to. The problem wasn't decentralization. The problem was centralized companies and good old-fashioned human greed, the very things crypto was created to fix. But that detail got lost in the noise. The public demanded action, and Washington was more than happy to oblige. The fear and pain from FTX created the perfect opportunity, not just to write a few rules, but to reshape the entire industry in their image. The outrage was at a fever pitch, and the government was ready with its solution. A solution that started with the one piece of crypto that touches the traditional financial world most directly: stablecoins. On July 18th, 2025, President Trump signed the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, or Genius Act, into law. This was huge. It was the first time a major federal law was passed to specifically regulate a part of the crypto market in the U.S. The official story is that this law is a win. It gives stablecoin issuers the clarity they wanted, protects consumers, and makes digital dollars legit. And on the surface, some parts of it do just that. Let's quickly break down what the Genius Act does, starting with the good stuff. First, it tackles the whole Terra Luna reserve issue head on. The law says any permitted payment stablecoin issuer has to back every single token with one-to-one reserves. And not just any reserves, they have to be high-quality liquid assets like cash in a bank or short-term US Treasury bills. No more magic internet money algorithms. If you issue $1 billion in stablecoins, you better have $1 billion in real verifiable assets sitting somewhere safe. To prove it, issuers now have to publicly report the composition of their reserves every single month, and these reports must be audited by a registered public accounting firm. This is a big move for transparency, meant to give you confidence that your digital dollar is actually worth a dollar. The law also clarifies that these stablecoins are not securities or commodities, putting them under the watch of banking regulators instead of the SEC or CFTC, which makes a lot more sense. That's the sales pitch. It sounds reasonable, right? It sounds like progress, but now we need to look closer. We have to read between the lines because this is where the secret war really kicks off. This is where you find the tools of control. Threat number one is gatekeeping. Who gets to be a permitted issuer? Not just anybody. Under the Genius Act, it's basically just banks, credit unions, or special non-bank institutions that get a license from the federal government. Getting that license is a long, expensive, and brutal process. What does that mean in the real world? It means the permissionless innovation that made crypto special is dead, at least for US stablecoins. You can't just be a few smart coders with a great idea anymore. You have to be a giant, well-funded corporation with an army of lawyers. This is a one-way ticket to centralization. A handful of massive government-approved players, think BlackRock, JP Morgan, Circle, will own the market, while smaller startups get locked out. The second, and honestly more chilling threat, is compliance. The Genius Act forces all issuers to comply with the Bank Secrecy Act, BSA, meaning they have to run full anti-money laundering, AML, and know your customer, KYC programs. They have to monitor transactions, report suspicious activity, and obey sanctions lists from agencies like OFAC. So, what happens when a government agency sends a lawful order to one of these permitted issuers, flagging an address they don't like? The issuer has to comply. While the law doesn't literally contain the words kill switch, it demands that issuers have the technical means to enforce these orders. On a blockchain, that means one thing: the ability to freeze, block, or seize the funds in a specific wallet. We already saw Circle do this with Tornado Cash addresses, but now that power is baked into federal law, it turns every legal stablecoin in the US into a direct instrument of state control. Your digital dollars are only yours as long as the government says so. Finally, look at the big picture. The White House fact sheet on the law is pretty blunt about its purpose: to play a crucial role in ensuring the continued global dominance of the US dollar. By forcing reserves to be held in US dollars and treasuries, the law creates a huge captive market for US government debt. As stablecoins grow, so does the world's dependence on the dollar. This isn't just about protecting you, it's about projecting American financial power. So the Genius Act puts a leash on stablecoins, tying them directly to the government-controlled banking system. It solves for stability, but it costs us innovation and personal sovereignty. It's the government's foot in the door. But stablecoins are just one part of crypto. What about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything else? That brings us to the second front in this war. Things are getting complicated, and the rules are changing fast. The government isn't stopping with stablecoins, and what's coming next could hit every single coin in your portfolio. If you want to stay ahead of their plans and understand what it all means for your financial freedom, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're tracking this every day, and you won't want to miss what we find next. With stablecoins captured, the government has turned its attention to the rest of the crypto universe. For years, the biggest question has been, is a crypto a commodity like gold or a security like a stock? The answer changes everything. If it's a security, it's ruled by the SEC, which means a mountain of regulations from the 1930s that are basically impossible for a decentralized software project to follow. If it's a commodity, it falls to the much smaller and generally more crypto-friendly CFTC. The SEC's regulation by enforcement strategy has already cost the industry billions and crushed innovation. To fix this, Congress has been working on the second prong of this attack: the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act, or FIT21. It passed the House with strong support in May 2024, and it's the leading blueprint for how the US will regulate the entire crypto market. On the surface, FIT21 looks like a dream come true for the industry. It tries to end the SEC versus CFTC turf war by creating a clear definition for a digital commodity. It lays out a path for a crypto to be classified as a commodity if its network is functional and decentralized, meaning no single person or group has too much control. This would give most projects the legal certainty they've been begging for and even protects your right to self-custody. But just like with the Genius Act, the devil is in the details. The hidden danger of FIT21 is that it doesn't remove government power. It just formalizes it into a bureaucratic nightmare. First, the bill still gives the SEC a ton of power, especially over new projects. If a network isn't sufficiently decentralized yet, it's still under the SEC's thumb. FIT21 creates a process to graduate from an SEC regulated security to a CFTC regulated commodity. But who decides when you've graduated? You guessed it, the SEC. This forces every new crypto project to start its life in fear of the regulator, hoping to one day be blessed as decentralized after spending millions on lawyers. Innovation is no longer permissionless. It now requires permission from a government committee. Second, the bill creates a ton of new registration requirements. Exchanges that want to list everything will have to register with both the CFTC and the SEC, creating a compliance mess that only the biggest players can afford. Once again, this leads to centralization and slams the door on competition. The most dangerous part is how it flips the power dynamic. In the old Wild West, the government had to chase you and prove you broke the law. In the world FIT21 imagines, the default is that you must come to the government for permission first. This system, sold to us as a gift of clarity, is actually a cage. It's a regulatory maze designed to channel and control the disruptive power of crypto, giving Washington the authority to pick winners and losers. So let's step back. When you put the Genius Act and FIT21 together, what do you see? It's a classic military pincer movement, a two-pronged attack to encircle the entire crypto ecosystem. On one side, the Genius Act captures the on-ramps and off-ramps, the stablecoins. It takes the money of the crypto world and welds it directly to the government-controlled banking system, making every digital dollar traceable and freezable. On the other side, FIT21 creates a regulatory cage for all other digital assets. It forces everyone, exchanges, brokers, developers, into a formal registration system controlled by the SEC and CFTC. The result is a market with no way out. Want to use a stablecoin? You're in the government system. Want to trade anything else on an exchange? You're in the government system. And speaking of exchanges, they are quickly becoming a key part of this control grid. The days of signing up with just an email are over. Starting January 1st, 2025, new IRS rules force crypto exchanges to report your transactions directly to the government on a new form, the 1099-DA. Starting in 2026, they'll have to report your cost basis too. The IRS will have a direct data feed of your every move. Financial privacy on centralized platforms is officially dead. So what's left? Where's the freedom crypto promised? Now, more than ever, the answer is self-custody. While the government can control centralized companies, they can't control a private key. Holding your own keys is no longer just a slogan, it's a fundamental act of preserving your financial sovereignty. And this brings us to the final question: what's the end game? Why build this elaborate system of control? The answer may be what they're building in the background: a central bank digital currency, or CBDC. A CBDC is the ultimate tool of financial control. A digital dollar issued directly by the Fed, completely programmable, trackable, and censorable. The idea has always faced backlash over privacy concerns. But look at the system being built now. The Genius Act gets people used to regulated, traceable digital dollars. FIT21 and the new tax rules create a fully compliant surveillance infrastructure. This entire framework could just be building the rails for an eventual CBDC rollout. This may not just be a secret war on crypto, it might be the prep phase for a new, more controllable form of money for everyone. So, where does that leave us? The official story from lawmakers is that this is about balance and consumer protection after FTX. They'll call these laws a win for everyone, creating a safe environment for crypto to grow. But the fine print tells another story, the story of the secret war. This story isn't about balance, it's about control. It's about a government that saw a technology that threatened its power and moved systematically to contain it. It's about turning the open frontier of crypto into a walled garden where the government holds all the keys. For you, this means your stablecoins are now basically part of the banking system, safer from collapse, but subject to surveillance and censorship. It means your favorite exchanges are now data collection arms for the IRS. And it means the future of innovation depends on getting a permission slip from Washington. Most importantly, it means that self-custody, holding your own keys in your own wallet, has become the last line of defense for true financial freedom. The framework for crypto's future is being built right now. The government says this is about making crypto safe. But is it safety they're really after, or is it control? Is this the end of the crypto revolution we knew, or just the start of a much tougher chapter? Let me know what you think in the comments below.